Hi everyone. We are here today with Tom from Tom's Studio and Louise from the Cult Pens team, and we are talking to Tom about Tom's Studio business and how it got started and everything we need to know about the product and the range. So without further ado, I'm going to switch over to Tom and just start at the beginning. Hi Tom, start at the beginning and how the business got going.
Of course. So I started Tom's Studio 6 years ago now. And it was off the back of my wife, who's a wedding stationery designer, Gemma, was using a calligraphy pen, which did the job. But when she put it next to her work in any photos, or it just didn't really fit the style and her amazing work. So I thought, I'm gonna give it a whirl. I'm gonna try and make her a different pen that she'll love using.
Tom,
so
it's not everybody that decides they're going to design a product or a pen for their wife, right? I wish my other half would do that. So tell us a bit about your background and how you came to be doing that. I know from our previous conversations you're a product designer. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I studied furniture and product design at Northumbria University, where I was basically like a kid in a sweet shop, because there were tools and lathes and milling machines, and you name it. I had laser cutters, 3D printers, and you could kind of design anything. And I loved it. And so I made cutlery from scratch, things like old style kettles where we spun forms and actually had to solder on all of the componentry and turn wood to make handles. And so it was an amazing course and taught me everything that I know basically about craftsmanship and design and materiality. And then I graduated, and it was the recession, so there weren't that many people who needed handmade cutlery or kettles, unfortunately. So I ended up being a support worker for people with brain injuries, which I absolutely loved. Wow. And then also just keeping creativity going in my life. I did illustrations for books. I'd make things, pieces of furniture, and then also dabbled in graphic design. So I ended up getting a job for a startup and worked with an amazing team of graphic designers, which is actually where I found out about Cult Pens, because one of the designers came in with a brush pen, and it was kind of this new tool. And she said, "Oh, this is from Cult Pens." And then I checked out the range and bought all the fine liners, all the brush pens,
the
whole selection. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just always missed using my hands to make things. I never really found what it was that I wanted to make. I didn't have a kind of a purpose for how I would apply my making until Gemma had this pen, which I thought, that's something that I could make a better version of, which is kind of how I got started. And if you'd like to, I can show you the first pen that I made.
I'd love to see that. But before we do, you talk about the working with your hands, and that's being the thing for you. Where does that come from, or where did that start?
That's a very good question. So my dad, before I was born, had a car accident. And his heart stopped for 10 minutes. Sounds like you're not going to know where this story's going, but yeah. So he had to learn to walk and talk and do everything from scratch again. And so his memory was really bad after that as well. So he couldn't really be employed. So he decided that he was going to make rocking horses. And so he made these incredible rocking horses from scratch.
Wow.
And they are beautiful, including benches. And he got commissions from local people. And he just learned all of this, having just taught himself to walk and talk. And I saw this as a very young boy. And then he ended up getting a job from his portfolio of these amazing creations at a place called Art Center, which is in Switzerland, where he lived. And I used to visit him over there. And it was just this hive of creativity. There was a transport design department. So they'd have people making these clay models of cars. And I was obsessed with cars when I was a kid. So I'd walk into these rooms and just my mind would be blown. And then he would teach a course called The Way Things Work, So they'd make things like mousetrap cars. So you'd create a kind of pulley system which made the wheels spin, and then they'd have competitions to see how far these mousetrap cars could go. And so as a young boy to see this and to kind of see what my dad had managed to create and achieve against the odds was kind of a massive inspiration to me, really.
Huge. And the example that you can achieve anything with that. That's incredible.
Exactly.
It's also in my head, I'm going the Willy Wonka factory of kind of product creation. It sounds amazing.
Well, that's exactly it. And that's kind of that's always stuck with me. And that's kind of what I've always tried to bring with me to Tom's studio, is that kind of Willy Wonka-ness of creativity. And there are no limits to what you can kind of create. And so, yeah, that's really kind of stuck with me, I think.
That is amazing. Amazing. I could probably talk about that for some time, but let's go to the first pen.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
So I'll put it on this camera here.
Over. Yeah. Let me switch over.
So every good product has to have its failures, I think, and this was certainly one of the failures. So copper, when you turn it on a lathe, is very sticky. And what happened here is the turning tool hit the copper, and then the whole thing basically just fell apart and bent. And so I took learnings from that and decided that I would give it another go. And then this is the next pen that I designed. As you can see, it didn't break on the lathe. And so the tail was copper, with the intention of giving the pen a really lovely weight and balance in the hand. And then the front part, this is Corian. And so have you come across Corian before?
I'm going kitchen worktops in my head.
That's exactly it. It's basically a lovely, lovely material. This is kind of the step that I took from these first designs to a more kind of refined design. But Corian is, as you say, it's used for really high-end kitchens, and it's a water-resistant kind of marble-like material, and it turns beautifully on the lathe, and you can polish it up to a really lovely shine. And what I found is that there were all these offcuts from people designing these beautiful kitchens, but then when they'd had a sink cut out, for instance, there was just a piece that would go into landfill of this stunning material. So I worked with a local company to take that material, and then I gave them a bit of Christmas beer money, and they would give me these beautiful marble-like materials in all of these lovely colours, and so that's how the first pen was born, really. And what I did is I took a picture of it and just set up a Tom Studio Instagram, and then I started getting people going, "Oh, can you make one for me?" And I didn't have a workshop. I just had Steve, my father-in-law's garage, which was full of, he makes a lot of locomotives, like scale miniatures of locomotives. So it was full of trains, basically, and a lathe. And so I had a very small space and a lathe, and I would make these pens to order for customers across the world. And then I saved a little bit of money, all the savings I had, really, to use a local manufacturer to make these tails. What I'd found is that using the lathe by hand, it's really hard to create a real delicate fineness on the tail section of the pen. So there's a company that's local to me that have these Swiss engineering lathes that are super, super precise. They use them for aerospace engineering and watch parts, and so you can tweak things by the micron. And so I think I got 100 of these tails made, and then could obviously change the Corian part to however I wanted, and then just set up a very simple Squarespace website, and it kind of very slowly kind of grew from there.
Fantastic. And when was this? When did you do you have the business started on this date, or is it it's a bit looser than that?
Yeah, so I kind of base it on the the picture that I took of the first pen on Instagram, where I started to get those kind of those messages saying, "Oh, can I have one, please?" And that was May 16th. May 13th, 2016. So yeah, it's been 6 years now. And then I slowly kind of wound down my freelance work. We just had our daughter as well. So I was kind of, and obviously when you say to your parents-in-law or anyone, I'm going to start a calligraphy pen business, they kind of look at you and think, okay, it's not what I would have done. But unfortunately, my wife, Gemma, and everyone, our whole family has been super, super supportive about me kind of taking that risk and going for it, because they could tell how passionate I was, really, and how they could see that there was a place for it in the market and that there was clearly demand as well. So despite it being this kind of niche, they went with it and supported me, which was incredible.
I think it's just harking back to what you said before, you're sort of looking for the product to create that one product, and you found it through your wife and then your family supporting. It's amazing.
I was very lucky that she could product test everything as well. So she took that pen and really put it through its paces, and through her I could kind of make all of the mistakes I needed to before I started to take it to market. And so if you like, I can show you a few more of the pens that I designed.
There's a bit of the evolution. And Louise, sorry, Tom. Look, when did you first hear about Tom's studio? When did you first see something?
It was a couple of years ago now. I'm trying to think. Must have been 3 or 4 years ago when I probably started really doing calligraphy properly. And exactly the same as you said with your wife, I had a black plastic speedball type oblique pen that I was using, and as you say, you put it next to your work and it just didn't, it sort of did the job, but it just wasn't right. And I started looking for prettier options, and that is exactly how I came across Tom's studio. And
amazing.
They are, and I just absolutely love it. I can't wait to get the carrot ones my next.
Oh yes.
I'm skipping ahead.
Excellent lead-in, Louise. Okay, so Tom, show us the range and the evolution.
So this is another oblique pen, and this is a terrazzo pen that I cast. So this actually took saving the Corian from landfill to another level, where any offcuts that I then created from making the pens, I'd recast into the body of the pen. So you can see little bits of Corian there. That's a bit of white Corian. And then there's some surfboard resin in there as well, which I'll show you now. So
of course
there's sorry?
Of course there is. Of course there's resin.
So there's a local surfboard maker to us, and he's fantastic. He makes beautiful surfboards. And when I visited him, he had this tray which he collected all of the resin in. So he would make one surfboard and then another surfboard and then another surfboard, and just collect the resin from making these individual surfboards. And then it created this amazing effect. And again, he had no use for it. So I took that lovely resin. And
it's beautiful. And he had no use for it. But it's incredible.
So lucky that it just turned out so beautifully. It's got this lovely pink color in there, and it's one of the most popular products, and it's kind of like gold dust because there's only so much of this particular resin left. So that was a really fun one to work with him on. And then this was kind of an experimental one where I used the Corian and then cast it with eco resin, which is a plant-based resin, and then I've filled that with rose gold leaf, and then turned that on the lathe, and so it gives this kind of quite unusual look. And then I'm obsessed with Japanese design, by the way, so there's a theme that goes through.
We're a little bit as well.
Excellent. We're all on the same page then. And so this one is kind of inspired by Japanese lacquerware, and these are all cherry blossom, sakura blossom petals, and silver leaf that I've coated in several coats of lacquer. And
how long did the lacquering take?
Yeah, so it used to be what I would do day in and day out was the lacquering, because it did take so much time. Because what you have to do is it's about 16 coats of lacquer, and then you have to sand between each of those coats so that you don't get ridges, because if you get the ridges, then it doesn't have a consistent shine. And then there's this sandpaper called micro mesh, which goes up to this grit size, which is 12,000, which is super, super shiny. And then I have a buffing wheel, which makes it even shinier and just protects whatever is underneath the lacquer. So that was a really fun one. And I made all sorts of different styles with that. And I'd take requests of various petals or anything that people wanted to put underneath the lacquer. So that was really good fun.
Good patience. I asked because we got to meet someone from Pilot France who brought over some Namiki pens.
Okay.
And they were talking about the Japanese craftspeople that create them, and the urushi lacquers, and some of the pens take a year. So it's that process that you're talking about, and building up the layers and building up the layers. It's just the patience and the skill applied is mind-boggling. It's incredible.
I think that is exactly it. It is having that patience, and the like calligraphy, you can create this piece which you're super proud of, and then as you finish it, you splatter ink all over the page. And it was the same with making pens, really. You kind of could, right at the last moment, ruin the whole thing. And so there was always that kind of heart in mouth moment, and the satisfaction of actually completing something and it being as perfect as you could possibly make it. And the sort of progression as well through trying different ways of making things is just really, really satisfying. There's another one actually, which is gold leaf. So it's you can see the actual brass component there, which sits within the resin, and then 24 karat gold leaf within it as well. And then I thought I had one that had botanicals in it, but I can't. I've got so many pens on my table that we'll probably look at it later, and I'll show it to you a bit later on. So those.
That's absolutely exquisite, all of them.
Thank you very much. So that kind of progressed. Do you want to? Shall I show you the next kind of pen that I worked on? So that progressed into, talking of Namiki, that they were a big inspiration to the next range of pens, which were what I called the studio pen. So super, super simple, and I would just let the materials speak for themselves. So this is Dorset oak burr, and again an eco resin, which I filled with a mica powder, which kind of makes it glisten. And I made a lot of these I was invited to show at Chelsea Flower Show as part of their craft pavilion. So I made a lot of these using native timbers. So I had lovely walnuts and Dorset oak. I even had some hazel from Florence Nightingale's garden in Hampshire.
Wow.
It really helps to know a tree surgeon.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So the provenance of the materials was really important to me. And I really just wanted to apply what I've learned from making calligraphy pens to the studio pen. So I don't call it a fountain pen or a rollable, because it's kind of both. So this is the rollable attachment, and this is actually got one of my favorite refills, which is a Schmidt Fassamine, which is from Cult Pens actually.
Thank you.
Because all of the universal refills, rollable refills fit the pen, so you can have.
Great.
There was a lovely Oto brush pen which you could put in the pen as well, so people would pull this out and then start using it for brush lettering, which looked really, really great. So yeah, that's the kind of wooden studio pen. And then I think I showed you this one at the show actually. This is made from denim. So there's this great company in Cardigan in Wales that have brought back jean making to the area. They have all of these artisans that unfortunately the industry just died, and they brought it back. And so I got in touch with them and said, if you've got any offcuts that you can't use, then please send them my way. And so this pen is layers and layers and layers and layers of denim that I've then compressed, and it's called micarta, which is the process of laminating fabric or paper to create a solid material. And again, using eco resin, and then turned on the lathe. Similar to this, I worked with a company called Solid Wool, which took sheep's wool and cast it into a resin, which helped to reinforce it. But it had this beautiful texture to it. It was quite unusual to work with it on the lathe, because before finishing it, it would actually be quite furry. So it was quite an unusual pen to make, but looked amazing, and took a material that had been kind of almost worthless. People were paying to get rid of wool at one point, I think, and turning it into a useful, practical material with the benefits of it being able to reinforce the actual resin itself. This is another one, this is one I got wrong. So I've got
I like that one though. Thank you. Accident, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. It's definitely the thing that bothers me about it, is that the line here doesn't meet up with this line. So this is actually made from, do you know, GF Smith paper? They bring out their book of papers every year. This is every single paper in their range, compressed together, and then turned on the lathe. So you can, it's kind of like a rainbow in there. But yeah, as I say, I've got this box of kind of failures that I've learned from, and this is in there. But maybe I'll resuscitate it one day.
Yeah, I like that one.
Proudly show off.
I get the line. I do get the lining up thing, because I like everything to be aligned.
Yeah,
that it's a beautiful effect.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun to make. And then I made Gemma, when she was a wedding stationery designer, used a paper called vellum white quite a lot. So this is actually the material. This is the paper that I've turned into a solid block, and then this is the pen that I made using that material as well.
That is really pretty.
Super hard. And you hand it to someone and say, what do you think that's made of? And it's so hard to imagine that it could be possibly made from paper. And how
would something like that, when you're using these materials, how would something like that wear? Is it going to be hard wearing because of the process as any other material?
Micarta is, because there's sort of a cross lamination between the fibers of the paper, it creates this kind of indestructible material in a way. And then I'd use the same lacquering process as the calligraphy pens. So it would obviously, if you get water into the micarta or any ink, then it can bleed into it. So I had to be really meticulous with that I'd covered everything really, really well, so that obviously that there was no ink staining and that it didn't bleed into the pen. But even then, I think there were a few where that did happen, and it kind of created this happy accident of this pen, which kind of looked really unusual with this ink bleeding. And yeah, so
that's quite an interesting mix of things. I'd quite like to be making some of those mistakes. I think some of that.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. It's almost like you could make the pen, dip it in ink, and then it would create this pattern, and I could finish it. Yeah,
definitely. Love that.
And then talking of Namiki again, there's a lot of kind of lacquering processes. So these were flowers from my garden actually, and some 24 karat gold leaf again. And then this is ebonite, which is a very, very traditional material, I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah.
And again, 24 karat gold leaf. And then this kind of the combination of both the Corian and the
that is
gold leaf.
Very pretty.
So that's the pen that I've made for my wife, which comes with the fountain pen attachment as well. So you can unscrew this and put a roller ball in, or use it as a fountain pen. So I wanted it to be as versatile and customizable as it could be for the person that bought the pen.
That's amazing.
Thank you. So that's the studio pens.
And what are you working on other materials to use for this process at the moment? You got your eye on, I'm gonna try this next.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I have
if you're allowed to tell us, that is.
Yes, yeah. So the thing that I've been enjoying most recently is collaborating with people. So there's an artist called Illy Boo. He's an amazing calligrapher. And so I sent her some of my pen bodies before they've, I'll just grab one quickly so you can see what it looks like before it's finished. So this is it's basically like a lollipop. So this is the Dorset oak, and again, some resin. But I sent her a version of this, which was just Corian. And then that allowed her to use gouache and Sumi ink, I believe, to actually paint onto the surface of the pen. So she did this amazing collection of 3 different colorways of going through the alphabet in her lettering style. And then I would lacquer over the top of that. And it made it so unique and beautiful. And they sold out within a minute. I just put them on the site and then they went.
Wow.
So that was a really fun one. And I've also collaborated with Maki Shimano in Japan. She used her Japanese Sumi style of ink, where it's this kind of ethereal style. And then again, I used the lacquering technique, and they came out beautifully. And each one was hand lettered by her. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the collaborations with people where we can kind of combine ideas and create something that's really unique.
That's amazing. And also already in my head, I'm worrying about things that we could do in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure there'll be some ideas and things
absolutely.
That we could do. Amazing.
Yeah.
Can you? So one of the things, I think when we first met, you were talking about the position, the nib for the calligraphy pens, and the position in the hand, and I don't think we've covered that. Just in terms of the unusual shape where the nib sits on the calligraphy.
Oh yeah,
pen.
So.
And this is me as a beginner asking the question. Louise will probably be like, yeah, but as a non-calligrapher,
yes,
I love the design of that and the shape of it. It's beautiful.
It's a very good question, and it's probably the most common question, I would say, because you see the pen and you think that's a very unusual pen. Why on earth would it have that angle? And it's as simple as styles like copperplate are a slanted style of calligraphy. Yeah. So instead of you having to cant, say you're writing it with a straight nib like this, you'd have to cant your wrist over, which is quite uncomfortable. It's doable, but it's not a very efficient or graceful way of writing calligraphy. So by having an oblique pen where the nib is set at that angle, it allows you to very easily continue that slanted style of calligraphy. And then a more straight version of the pen is perfect if you want to do modern calligraphy, more straight styles, manga, illustration. So that works for that. Although I've known people to swap between the two so some people use oblique pens for illustration and some people use a straight pen. So there's no hard and fast rules. It's just that would be what I would recommend for that style of calligraphy.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I can show you where this kind of took me, if you like.
Yeah.
And the sort of issues that I found with a more traditional style of calligraphy pen. So one of the problems with a pen like this is that you have this is called the flange, and you can hold a nib in it. But whenever you want to change the size of the nib, so these are 2 different nib sizes, you have to pull out your pliers and you have to actually adjust it. And so this takes a bit of a battering over time, unless you have either a quiver of calligraphy pens or you're just quite content with using one nib. So what I wanted to do was create a pen where you could easily adjust the pen, which is what brought me to the Flourish. So this is kind of the second iteration of the Flourish. The first one was this very simple tapered design, which had the nib holder out the side as an oblique as well. And so folks just really enjoyed the fact that they could very easily change nibs, which I can show you. So basically it's got a nut here and then an armature which comes out of the pen. And so if you've got two different nib sizes, you can quite simply, let me just take one out of here, adjust the nut so that it is just over the width of the nib. And then you can pop, touch more, you can pop the nib in, and then it's nice and secure. And then when you want to change the size of your nib, you can make it a little bit wider and then pop that one in. So you can change the width of the nib up to, I think it's sort of mapping style nibs, which are really thin, up to Nick OGs and even beyond. There aren't too many nibs which are bigger, but it just allows you that really quick flexibility and ability to change between them. The other thing that this nib holder allows you to do is there's a grub screw in the top here. So you can loosen that and then you can flip it. So you can actually, if you're a lefty and you want to use an oblique, instead of having to buy a specific lefty pen, you can flip it and then you've got a lefty oblique very quickly, which makes it a lot more accessible.
Yeah, I'm not a calligrapher, but what I love, and I think when we first spoke to you, is that I know I'm going to say simple design is not an easy thing, and the simplicity of this is, I think, absolutely part of the beauty. You finished it beautifully as well, but that it's fixing a problem for the user, and you've done it so beautifully.
Thank you. It's one of those things where I was trying to fix the problem for ages, and I was filling up sketchbooks full of ideas, and then it was just one of those moments just in the car. I think I was probably dropping my daughter to school, and then it hit me, and I thought that's the solution. And then a few iterations, 3D prints later, and I managed to make it work, and I was absolutely chuffed to bits, to be honest. The other thing that is nice, if you want to change the angle that the nib sits in relation to the pen, again you have to use pliers and change it so that it becomes steeper or shallower. And the benefit of having maybe a steeper angle, if you prefer more of an upright style of calligraphy, is that you're not creating snagging on the page. It's a much smoother writing experience. So what you can do is choose the angle that you want to use the pen at. So let me just show you. So if I just loosen this, you can change between those. Obviously you wouldn't want it like that, because that's going to cause some serious snagging, but you can adjust any angle basically so that you can create the perfect angle for the way that you write your calligraphy. So I just wanted it to be as versatile as possible, so that people could use it in a way that really matched their style. And then this comes in lots of lovely colorways too. So I dip dyed a lot of the pens, and now I found an amazing manufacturer that I've kind of shown how to do it. So these are some of the colorways. This one I call Joy, which has been really popular. There's sunrise, rose gold, and a teal, and then there's a black one as well.
Where the other are you manufacturing nearby? Where are you getting these manufactured?
So there's a manufacturer that I found, chap that can do anything. So basically I was making everything.
It sounds very handy.
Very handy. It's been a bit of a journey through manufacturing. I nearly lost my business through the manufacturers that I was using, because they were making some pens for me that a part on their machine broke, and then it meant that I couldn't fulfill any of the orders that I wanted to. And so I've kind of gone on this journey to try and find the most reliable, the highest quality, the one that can do the most for me. And so they're based in China. And what I would really love to do is to bring all of that manufacturing back to the UK, if I'm honest. Yeah. But I have found it really hard to find a supplier that can do all of the things like the Willy Wonka kind of chocolate factory.
Yeah.
all of these amazing styles and finishes, and so what I'd like to do is build a business that allows me to then control the manufacturing and have that as part of Tom's studio. So we have all the manufacturing in house. So that's something we're working towards. We're just obviously
it's a great ambition.
Yeah, I hope so. Do you want to see? So there's another little feature of this which is fun, which allows you to. Oh, I'm giving you a sneak peek there of a.
Okay, we didn't see.
Pen. You didn't see. Okay, all good. Another thing, I feel like there's blank page syndrome can be quite imposing, especially with calligraphy, when you're dipping this thing in ink and quite a pigmented ink, and you're expected to, there's some expectation to draw or write something absolutely beautiful straight away. So I wanted to allow people to actually be able to sketch out what they want to create using a pencil lead, rather than it being committing to ink. So you can actually, write your calligraphy and then trace over it with ink afterwards, so that you don't feel like you're going to make a mistake, and you can kind of try different letter forms and styles and then erase the lead afterwards. So it allows you to do that, which is I've found a lot of customers really like the fact that you can do that, which is really nice. And then the One Dip Wonder. Should I show you the One Dip Wonder?
I can't wait.
So the One Dip Wonder was an amazing kind of collaboration, really, with my customers, because we were chatting and talking about, what problems that some customers had, and people were getting frustrated with the amount of ink that they could get on a nib before it ran out. So the One Dip Wonder is a magnet and a spring which acts as a reservoir, and it just very simply attaches to the back of the nib and allows the pen to carry more ink. So instead of writing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you can write the whole alphabet just by using.
Can you close up that, if that will work on the camera? Yeah, I'll give it a second to.
Gonna work.
Will it focus?
Not loving focus, is it? But essentially, it's very simple mechanism which you can pop very quickly and change between nibs really easily. There is a system that people use already, but the spring is actually soldered onto the back of the nib. So once the nib is blunt or you can't use it anymore, that whole soldered reservoir also has to, unfortunately, go with the nib. So this allows you to use it on different nibs, and just as long as you maintain it. And there's some videos on my website, and I can send you some of kind of what people have achieved. It's really satisfying sending these to customers and then them doing a side-by-side comparison. I won't do it now because it'll take a little while, but I can send you those videos and people, some lovely testimonials of people saying this has really changed the way that I write calligraphy and made things, especially big jobs like writing wedding invitations or what have you, much easier.
It's probably one of the most common things I hear of people not wanting to try dip pen or persist with it, is that they get fed up having to dip it so often. And even just this morning, I was talking to a customer who was, I was suggesting a dip pen for his work, and he was like, "Oh, but after 2 letters, it just runs out."
Oh, so really?
Really exciting. Yeah, that is a
good. Oh, good. Yeah,
again,
no, really pleased.
I mean, I know, again, it's not simple to solve the problem, but the simplicity of the solution is genius of the design.
Oh, good.
I love that. I love how things work, and that's amazing.
Oh, I'm really pleased. Yeah, it was another one of those sort of moments where everything came together and it seemed to work. And it's through those sort of trial and error and trying all these different ways of doing things. And I'm really pleased that it's made such a difference to the calligraphy community, really. This is another fun one. So this is the tilt pot. A problem calligraphers have is obviously when they're dipping. I'm just going to make sure this is tight before I flip it. A problem calligraphers have is just trying to get to the bottom of the ink bottle, basically, and the level adjusting as you're dipping in the ink. It's obviously harder when it's upright to get that shallow amount of ink. So this is the tilt, which starts off with a very slight angle, and then you flip it, and then you've got a little bit more of an angle, and then you can flip it. Oh no, I think there's some inky problems.
Oh.
I mean, it was inevitable, really, wasn't it?
It was.
There's so much ink surrounding me.
Occupational hazard, that.
It is. Could have quite easily called Tom's studio kind of inky fingers, I think, because it is a daily pastime. But I'll just make sure that's super tight, and hopefully it'll work. And then you can tilt it like so, and even more tilted. So it allows you to get that last bit of residual ink in the bottom of the pot. So again, if you've got a big job, like wedding invitations or place cards or something like that, you can just have that there, and then it can tilt with your work, and hopefully make that process a lot more pleasurable and enjoyable.
And you're getting right to the bottom of every pot, so you're using everything, which is good.
Exactly, yeah. And it's just a nice sort of thing to have on your desk as well. It just sort of sits really nicely with the lovely work that calligraphers create, or at least that's how I've designed it to be.
Yeah, no, when I saw it, when we saw it at the show, I loved it. It looked great.
Oh, thank you. And then sort of carrying on that brass machined aesthetic, this is the butterfly brass pen rest, which again just very simply allows you to have a little place for your pens. So you can pop your up to, I think, 3 pens and brushes, and just very simply create a place where your art supplies can go. So if you're using a bit of calligraphy and doing a bit of watercolor, you can have your brushes and everything in one place, so you can easily grab them and you're not getting ink on your desk. And this was actually inspired by butterfly joints in cabinet making. It's this lovely piece of timber that people insert into timber to join, and I just love that. I think it's also got a certain Japanese aesthetic which appealed, and all it has is a very simple flat spot on the back, so it just stops it from rolling away. So that's that one.
Lovely.
And then would you like to see the carrots?
Yeah. I'm thinking Louise is writing her Christmas list right now.
Yeah, I actually am. I'm thinking, gosh, this order is getting bigger and bigger, isn't it?
It's just really nice to have an excuse to talk about it. I mean, the trade show where we met you was it was lovely. It was just because of lockdown, we hadn't talked to anyone face to face about products, and being able to kind of come out of the workshop and show people what I'd been up to and designing was lovely.
It's amazing.
Get feedback. So these are the carrots, and we really went to town on playing with lots of lovely colours. But the main reason I designed this was there's a phenomena called calligrapher's claw, which is when have you ever had calligrapher's claw, Louise? Yeah, I think it's most common when you've been writing a lot, and it's just that sort of cramp that you get in your hands from gripping too hard. So the carrot is a solid piece of aluminium where the weight sits behind the tips of your fingers, which allows the pen to actually do, the idea is that it does most of the work for you. So the amount of weight that you need to apply for those thin upstrokes, the weight of the pen will do that, and the balance is further back, so it sits really beautifully in your hand. And because of the shape of the body, it allows you to grip it really comfortably. And so that's been a really popular pen, actually. We've got some customers in Japan, and it's just gone crazy, which is, it's so nice to see that people are really enjoying that pen.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it. I love, especially I've just got big hands in particular.
Okay.
Thin pens for me don't work particularly well, or like you say, I just find I fatigue much easier, and it does become exhausting after a long while. So a fat barrel is what I'm excited about.
Excellent. I'm really glad that the carrot should hopefully work for it. I'd love to hear your feedback when you get your hands on one.
Definitely.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I will do.
And then that leads me on to my most recent calligraphy pen design, which is called the Bloom, which is a kind of combination of my handmade calligraphy pens and the Flourish collection. So this is the Bloom, and it's designed so that it has a really lovely, it's kind of a cross between the Flourish curve and the carrot with the grip. So it's got a little bit more of a bit more width here. So it feels really lovely in the hand. And then the brass tail, similar to my handmade pens, just gives it a really lovely balance in the hand. So the weight again is in this part of your hand, doesn't feel too top heavy or too back heavy, and it just feels like a substantial tool to create your best work. So this has been a real fun one to work on. And then it has the nib holder, which is the same as the Flourish pen, so you can have it as a lefty. I've also got a straight version of the pen. And the nifty thing about this one is that you can unscrew the tail, and then you can store nibs in the back. So you can store up to 5 Nico Gs and quite a few of the smaller nibs as well. And so if you want to travel with your calligraphy pen, it just makes storing those nibs a lot easier as well. So that's been a really fun one to launch, and people have really enjoyed. I put the names of the colours out to the Instagram audience, and so this is Bluebell, Mulberry and Ivy that the Instagram audience chose, which is really nice to sort of work with them to come up with some really lovely names for the colours.
I'm very partial to the Bluebell.
Yeah,
that's drawing me in, definitely. Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's amazing. So do you want to move on from calligraphy?
Yes. What else can you show us, Tom?
I will show you the Sumi, I think. So the Sumi is a pen which I'm working on version 2 as we speak. So it is the first fountain pen that I designed that had a flexible nib. So don't think it's going to focus particularly well, but you can see these cutaways here allow you to actually get a flexible, it's not inked up at the moment, but it allows you to get a flexible experience with the nib and get those thick and thin strokes. And I really wanted this, again, you can kind of see the Japanese influence in the simplicity of this pen. It sits on your desk like so, and you can just grab it and start writing. And then I developed some fun dip dyeing processes where you could, I could change all of these colors. I would get these parts made and then anodized, which means that the pores of the aluminium are basically opened up, which you can then put dye or colors into, and then you can close those pores by essentially steaming them. So it closes in that color, and then it keeps that color in the body of the pen. So it meant I could really customize and change any of the colors and create really unusual and unique color combinations. This is another one which kind of inspired the sunrise color combination. And this is like the studio pen. It also works as a rollerball as well. So you can write quite happily with a rollerball or a fountain pen as well. So this is, I'm working on a newer version of this. There are a couple of little quirks, like it's quite easy to topple over. So I'm going to make one that takes all of its best features and just take it to the next level. So
okay, so that one, I just checking our range that we've ordered. So that one's going to be coming soon then. That'll
be coming soon, yeah. Okay. And you'll be the first people to hear about it when I've got it launched.
Thank you.
And so then having dabbled with fountain pens that write in a calligraphic way and taking my knowledge of a calligraphy pen, I wanted to make a fountain pen that kind of was for calligraphers and for people. Also, I used to write with a fountain pen at school and really enjoyed the process, and felt that a lot of people would probably really enjoy fountain pens too, but probably weren't fountain pen users at present. So I wanted to make a kind of contemporary minimalist range of fountain pens that allow people to be creative and kind of push what they could do with a fountain pen, and kind of get people rethinking what a fountain pen is. So that's when I started working on the Spark, which is comes in all of these lovely colors, and you can this anodizing process again, which came from the Sumi pens, and then it comes with this finial which can be customized. So there's a lot of different styles. This is some of the styles of finial that you can actually put in. I wanted to take my love of materiality of making the studio pens from all these lovely materials and give people a chance to customize their pen and make it something that is really ownable. And so you can have mother of pearl, abalone, black obsidian. There's kind of endless numbers of choices, or you can just have a really simple 23 karat gold plated top as well. And so this is brass, which gives it a really nice weight. So you can post the cap on the back of the pen, and then this just makes it feel substantial and a lovely weighted pen, which I think is perfect for just general kind of writing. But then if you want to take the cap off, you can as well. And then it's quite nice just to use more for finer illustrations where you just need that sort of control to do really fine little details or little sketchy marks or what have you. So there are 5 nibs, I think, an ever-growing selection of nibs basically. But this is the stud nib, and it's going to be quite hard to see, but they're all customized. So they have the Tom Studio logo. They're all 23 karat gold plated, and they have this spark coming out from the breather hole. So I really wanted people to kind of feel like this is a celebration. Every time you got your pen out, it's just a moment for you to enjoy whatever pursuit you wanted to get involved in. So that's why I designed the nibs in that way. And then, so what have we got in this one? We have, so this is the semi-flex, which is taking calligraphic nib design so that you can get that thick and thin style. You may notice I've got some of Gemma's lovely work under here, so I'll attempt to show you what you can do with it. So yeah, it just gives you that lovely flexibility, which works really equally well for calligraphy. But if you want to illustrate with it as well, you can get those kind of nice thick lines and thinner lines as well. So that's a really fun, that's our most popular nib, the semi-flex, because it's a really reliable nib. It's made from stainless steel that's been coated, so it's going to last forever basically. And it's a little bit stiffer, but it still allows you to write in a calligraphic style. And then this is the medium nib, which is just a really nice everyday nib. When people, because we've got 3 people, Jason's one of them, and Emma and Ilse have just started. We give them a pen when they start working at Tom's Studio, and the medium nib is the one that most people choose for writing notes and day-to-day tasks. It's just a really nice nib to write with on a day-to-day basis. And then you can see that finial's got a black obsidian inlay there. Lovely. And then what have we got next? We have the fine. So yeah, this is the thing as well. What I love about fountain pens is just the fact that you can change your ink color so easily and make it custom to you. So I've really tried to make it as easy for people to to choose their own inks and find one that really matches.
About to ask you about filling options.
Yeah, so it's a universal converter. So you can use refills, a standard refill, but it comes with a converter. And I encourage people to use converters so that they're not disposing of cartridges.
Yes,
and just think that it's a joy. You know, the fountain pen community, when you see them talking about their favorite inks, you know, some people just love using ink and trying all these different.
There's never a quick answer to that question in our world. It's quite a lot of discussion that goes on and back and forth, and a lot of passion about different inks and colours.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
It is really fascinating, and that's what I love about that community, is that people are so passionate about their style and their colour, and they're able to make a writing instrument which is really personal to them. And that's what I've really tried to achieve here, is making something that really does feel like it's your pen. I don't put any branding on any of the products. It's just because it's not my pen, it's their pen. I want it to be something that they can pick up and feel like it is owned by them, and it doesn't have to have any branding or anything, any noise getting in the way of their writing experience. And then this is the rose gold version, and that's got a little mother of pearl in. And then this is a 3D printed feed. Let me just move this quickly. Which is a polymer feed, which is really hydrophilic, so it allows the ink to flow. He says, let me just recharge it quickly. It's camera shy, clearly. What was nice on the stand was that everyone could put these through their paces, because at the time it was quite a experimental prototype. But it allows you to use a calligraphy nib. This is a Tashikawa, titanium plated nib. And so you get that real flex of the nib with a feed that can provide it with a good amount of ink, so that you can get those really lovely thick and thin strokes. It requires more maintenance because, as I said before, it's not made from stainless steel. It's just plated, so it can rust. But as long as you maintain it well, you can get this phenomenal writing experience with a pen that you can carry with you every day and not feel like you're having to dip it in ink. So yeah, I really wanted to give people options really with the style of nib that they chose, so that they felt like they can customize the color, the finial, the ink, the nib, and make something that is really, really special to them. So that's the Spark. Would you like to see the Lumos pen?
Yes.
So
this one we've added on. So I don't think it was part of our original order. So this one coming soon?
It is coming soon. So it's just been pre-ordered. It's what's taken up basically the first half of this year for me, developing it and just making it what it is. And it's a pen that I'm really passionate about, because whenever I design my work, I often use a fine liner. And what I found with fine liners is, I think, having now launched the Lumos, a lot of people find is that it is a pen that is amazing. People love it, and it comes in all of these different sizes. But then when it comes to either the nib breaking or the pen running out of ink, that's it for the pen. It has to be thrown away. And there's a lot of amazing pens that I'm sure are in landfill right now. So I wanted to design a pen that didn't have that issue. So basically, the Lumos is a pen that allows you to change your tip super simply. So you can change between I'll show you, actually, I've got a little display here. So we've got 9 different tip sizes, from 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, 0.81, chisel, brush, and felt tip. You can change between all of those tips, and say if one breaks, then all you're having to do is throw away this part. And even then, I've worked with a Japanese manufacturer, and the feedback I've had from influencers and artists that have used these prototype Lumoses is that they outlast some of the more popular brands on the market. So that's really, really encouraging.
Great start, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really, really pleased. And so I thought I'd show you how to actually refill it. So it comes with a cotton core sleeve here, and then you can pop that in ink, and then it just draws ink up into this component. And then to put a nib in, it's got this very small little ball section here, which kind of acts like a clamp. And then you can choose your nib size, pop it in there, and then screw this back on so that, I've used an earlier prototype one. I'll show you a different one. This is all the iterations. It used to not have as many ball sizes, as many nib sizes. So it only had 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3, but I thought, I'm going to try and get more. So I changed the dimensions of the ball. So you can screw on the ball, and you can also, if you're using one of the fiber tips, you can just push that straight into the body of the pen. And so this is the brush tip, which allows you to get those thick and thin strokes. And this is a fountain pen ink. So it's a lovely smooth ink, which just obviously you can change to so many different colors. But there's also amazing inks which you can find on Cult Pens.
We have a lot,
yeah. This is a pigment Sailor Kiwagoro pigment ink, which works in fountain pens, and it works beautifully in the Lumos as well. So obviously a lot of the fine liners that you can find on the market are waterproof, and so I believe this is a Kiwagoro, which allows you to then go over the top of it without it bleeding, which a lot of artists really love, the fact that you can do that. And because it's archival, you can leave it in the sun and you're not having to worry about it fading over time. So it comes as a duo, so it's got two tips, and then you can customize the tips to suit you as well. So you can make the pen work for you. I quite like a 0.5 fine liner, and then a chisel tip for kind of outlining sketches and that kind of thing. So there's that version, and then there's a matte black version as well. So this is kind of the very kind of minimalist black version of the pen, and this is a super grippy finish as well. I've worked with the manufacturers to make it really, really lovely. It feels just really nice to hold in the hand, and then it's just a very, very simple design where you can't really even see where the break of getting the other pen out is. So yeah, that is the Lumos.
Lovely.
And I'm very excited about it.
When might that be coming?
So September is when we start shipping. Mid-September is when we start shipping pre-orders, and then after that, probably about 3 weeks after that, we'll start being able to reach out to retailers, and hopefully they can.
I think we've ordered already.
Oh yes, you have. Yeah. Exactly.
So okay, coming soon then.
Coming soon, yeah. So this is the one that, and it's just really encouraging getting it into artists' hands. There's a chap called Hawker who does these beautiful illustrations using a fine liner, and as soon as I reached out to him, his response was, "I've been looking for this forever. I tried designing my own and it didn't work." And then I sent him a prototype, and his feedback has been phenomenal, as has a lot of other people that I've sent the pen to. So I'm just really, really happy that it's resonating with people, and that people feel like it does genuinely answer a problem for them, and obviously allows people to not just be limited to black ink with a fine liner. You can have any shade of ink. You can use watercolor inks as well. and a lot of pigment inks as well. So yeah, very happy to be launching it and to for it to have had the response that it's got.
Amazing. Solving pen problems, one pen at a time. I love it. And actually, as you mentioned,
should be our tagline.
Yeah. as you mentioned inks, I know you've also got your own range. So perhaps just to finish up, you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So these are the calligraphy inks. So they're just, Gemma has done her lovely work on the label here. It's a really lovely textured label, and it's the form factor is the main kind of point of difference here with some other inks. The pipette just works really, really nicely to actually apply ink to the back of the nib, so you can be quite precise. And that allows you to, if you've got a one-dip wonder, obviously you just apply it straight to the back of the ink, the back of the nib. And then we've got, I think, 20 different shades of this, and we're about to launch fountain pen ink as well, which goes with the Lumos really nicely. But also you can use fountain pen ink with the calligraphy pens as well. So yeah, we're going to have a lovely range of inky goodness, and we're working with a British manufacturer to work on lots of new shades of ink. So
are we allowed to say who? Because I think it's someone that we work with too, if you're happy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's Diamine. They're the ones. They just make
they're just the one, right? So we've got obviously our Cult pens range as well. And they're amazing. But I love the bottles. I love the thought that you put into that.
Yeah.
The design there as well. It's beautiful. We've got, I think, the calligraphy inks coming, but I don't know that we've got any. We'll have to follow up on the fountain pen ink.
Yes, they're very, very recent. So yeah, we'll definitely have to chat about that. Very excited. We've got some lovely shades of them. And one of the most fun things, I guess, I can show you these actually. These are some of the swatches. One of the most fun things, I guess, is coming up with all of the names for them.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of going back and forth with various names for the fountain pen ink. So we're quite pleased. Pink Elephant is a favourite, and Strawberry Jam. So nice. Look out for those.
I like the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Well, you are actually in the company of greatness, because Louise has an ink named after her.
Oh, amazing!
So one of the Cult pens range is a Louise and a Little Lou.
Little Lou.
Oh, incredible!
We've got the big size and the little size. So we have the same discussions internally about Diamine inks when they make ranges for us. And I think our most recent one was a tropical fruit tangent, just because one of the colours, someone said guava, and then we were off with colour ranges. So we have to with that as well.
Amazing. Yeah. That's it. There's so many different ways that you can take colour, isn't there? And I think it just allows people to create in all sorts of different ways and access colours that you can't with sometimes more traditional writing tools. With fountain pens and hopefully the Lumos, people will be able to broaden out what they're able to use on the page. So yeah, very lucky to have Diamine in this country. They're a great ink manufacturer.
I got to go and visit not that long ago, and it was amazing. But there was a whole other building that was top secret. It was like, itching to get behind that door, but we weren't allowed.
You want to sneak in,
good.
Don't you?
It's good. It's very good. Yeah, they're an amazing business.
Fantastic.
Great. Is there anything else that's a lot. Is there anything else you would like to show us?
It's probably worth mentioning I think you've also ordered some kits. So I thought I might show you what comes in the kit. So this is a beginner's modern calligraphy guide that Gemma's put together. And it has everything you need to get started, which is we've got some really good feedback from people that weren't necessarily calligraphers that used this, and it just felt like it inspired them and it was an accessible place to get started. So you've got all the basic strokes, and then I'm getting surrounded by pens and paraphernalia, but we have let me just grab the box.
I was going to look and check what we've
comes
got
with
the calligraphy kit. Yeah, definitely coming. Great.
Exactly. Yeah. So it comes with a lovely bottle of black ink, a nib, a pencil, a book which has guidelines in it. Then you've got your guidelines that you can use to trace the book that I just showed you, and another nib as well as a flourish pen. And then each pen has foiled belly band, which every pen has a different style as well. Let me show you the bloom one. So we work with a local printer.
One of my favorite parts when I opened up my order. I was like,
oh
my
so
God,
pleased.
look at the box.
And actually our ops team referenced that in the delivery. So they noticed the beautiful packaging.
We do obsess over it slightly, I've got to admit. It is something that we noted. Yeah, I share a studio with where the workshop used to be and where we now do fulfillment with packaging designers and product designers. And so we've got a really nice bunch of people to just show things to and to get their opinion, which really helps. But you might be able to see that all of this has been embossed. So we use some lovely GF Smith paper, and then Gemma created all of these illustrations, and we made this. I mean, we could have made a little plate, but we made a plate that was as big as the actual artwork itself to emboss the whole thing, because we thought it needed a bit of a wow factor. And then when you take the belly band off, you have a little gold foil sticker, and you can very gingerly take that off. Yeah, exactly. And then you can see all of the instructions for how to get started with all of the pens, and they all have their own specific. This is the carrot box, so there's little bunnies hiding there, and there's even a carrot cake recipe.
I've seen the carrot cake recipe. I haven't made it yet, but it does look really good.
It's very good. Yeah, it's very, very good with a cup of tea and a bit of calligraphy. And then I'll just quickly show you the inside as well, because we just wanted to make everything as sort of minimal as possible. So actually, this is one of the original pens that I was trying to find earlier. This is the eco resin with the flowers actually encapsulated in. Oh,
that's lovely.
Yeah.
But all the pens sit in there, and it's kind of nice little bed. This is a Tom Studio embossed logo, and then you can quite easily take this out, and then it says from small seedlings to mighty oaks, as a little piece of artwork that hopefully serves to inspire people. And then it's got the story of Tom's studio and some lovely artwork that Gemma's produced as well.
Just absolutely beautiful. It's the simplicity of the design, but also the attention to detail that is amazing. It's kind of overwhelming, and certainly when we saw you and we were able to like play with the products as well, it is phenomenal, the quality of the design and the product, but from start to finish, the fact that you've thought about the packaging as well, just that attention to detail shows the amount of care and love that's gone into it. It's incredible. How really amazing that you met your wife and she was a calligrapher.
I know. It's funny to think. I don't know what I'd be doing if I hadn't met Gemma.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'm so pleased.